I'm Jennifer Koh, and I'm very excited to be here at the Castleton Festival playing l'Histoire du Soldat by Stravinsky.
You have won so many prestigious competitions and have been described in superlative terms by the finest music critics of the US and UK. For example, as a risk-taking, high-octane player of the kind who grabs the listener by the ears and refuses to let go. Unlike so many players of this temperament, however, she supports her mesmerizing flights of fancy with a beguiling silvery tone, fabulous technique, and dead-center intuition. Can we start from the beginning with you, Jennifer, and ask what drew you to the violin and when did you begin to play?
I started the violin when I was around 3 years old, and my parents came to the US from Korea, and they grew up during the Korean War. So I think when they had me, they wanted me to start me in every possible kind of activity that they didn't have the opportunity to do themselves. So, I started violin, but I also started ballet and ice skating and swimming and diving and gymnastics and rhythmic gymnastics. And, violin was just like another hobby that was kind of thrown in. And I think, music always is immediately it's what I was attracted to the most. I don't know if I necessarily would have chosen the violin. They went to the local music school, and the violin was the only opening. And there was a waiting list for piano and cello. So it was kind of by chance that I ended up playing the violin. But I'm quite drawn to the instrument, so I'm happy I played it.
In addition to the classical violin repertoire, you've performed the music of Jennifer Higdon, John Adams, and Augusta Reid-Thomas, and I know you have performed the UK premiere of Gusty's Violin Concerto, Juggler, and Paradise. I've written about the work of Augusta Reid-Thomas and have prepared program notes for one of her CD recordings, so I'd be curious to hear about your reflections on performing this new work of Augusta Reid-Thomas at the Proms in London.
I had a great time. Working with Gusty. I had a great time working with the conductor, Maestro Boholovec, and the orchestra was fabulous. It was the BBC London Symphony, and it was just a great honor to be able to be part of that premiere and that performance, and it was really wonderful experience to play that music and with the musicians that I was playing with, and the audience was just amazing, so it was just a thrill.
Do you have a favorite performance piece, and one from the European and one from the American repertoire?
Favorite? That's really hard for me to choose, because I have so many composers that I really love, and it's not only contemporary and it's not only from the past. I think oftentimes what I find interesting is kind of how music is programmed, and I love looking backwards and forwards at the same time. And I in general, I think what I love about performing, what I love about music is that I'm just very aware that I'm just a small part of something that's so much greater than myself. And I think, so many of those composers fall into that amazing category of being really great, incredible musicians. So it's impossible for me to choose.
You have a very rich and full performance schedule and have been a soloist with major orchestras. Can you tell us of previous experience performing with the New York Philharmonic, for instance?
I had a wonderful time. They play so beautifully, and the musicians in the New York Phil are just incredibly. They're incredibly fine musicians, and the caliber of their playing is just beautiful. So it was such a great pleasure, and it also felt very special to me because I live in New York now, and it was just special to play with kind of my home team, I guess.
We will be performing Stravinsky's The Soldier's Tale together at the Castleton Festival in the coming weekend. The Soldier's Tale grew out of Stravinsky's own experience as it was composed in 1918 in the midst of World War I, written due to the dire circumstances of the times, for just 7 instrumentalists, dancers, and a narrator. There are references to various musical genres such as the tango, the waltz, the paso doble, and jazz. And indeed, it has been written by Alex Ross that Stravinsky viewed The Soldier's Tale as a Russian emigre's dream of what jazz was like. Can you describe your impressions of The Soldier's Tale with its virtuosic violin part, and have you performed it before?
I have performed it before, and one of the things I like about The Soldier's Tale, aside from I think the music is amazing and incredible, and Stravinsky, I think, is such a master of orchestration, and just it's kind of incredible to me that there's only 7 musicians playing, because he's able to write for the instruments in such a way that it feels complete, almost like a complete orchestra, which is amazing in itself. And but one of the things that I find special about this particular piece is in kind of a different sense that he really wrote it because he wanted it to go on tour. And this idea of kind of having this band of musicians traveling around the country, playing in these little towns, just seems so like such a great idea to me. So I also love the kind of concept behind how it was written.
And indeed, that spirit really transfers over to some new music and contemporary music ensembles, and how they are very much their own enterprise and sometimes a traveling context. And what are your hopes for the Castleton Festival, especially now that you'll be performing here under the direction of Maestro Lorin Maazel?
My hopes, I mean, I'm just really thrilled to be here, and it's really exciting to meet new musicians and to have a chance to play together and kind of communicate in that way is wonderful, and it's just a great honor to work with Maestro Maazel.